Hello, White Sox fans. A lot to celebrate, including me being here. I've missed doing this. I've missed you guys. I've been off to the worst beginning of a year ever for me. For work, I had to go cover the Sundance Film Festival, which is something I've done, I think it's actually like 5 times now. It's a fun experience for sure. And it's not uncommon for me to get sick by the end of it because it's just such a rough grind. It's a fun experience, but it's exhausting. And that set a chain of getting sick over and over and over again in motion for me to start the year. You still hear it in my voice, even though I do have a lot of energy back. I'm pretty much back. I still just feel a little down. However, in addition to the fact that, yes, we are going to be talking about the fact that there were 2 walk-off White Sox wins. Hey, the White Sox won 2 games in a row. How about this? The White Sox won 2 games. That's even exciting right now. But also exciting and greedily exciting is that I had some business that took me down to Chicago yesterday. And while I was down there enjoying that beautiful city, good God, I love Chicago, I thought, I'm down here, I'm going to take in a game. It ended up being Dog Day at the park, which is always a fun time too. I don't think I've ever been there during Dog Day, but so myself, a few thousand humans and 1,200 four-legged friends saw the White Sox walk off against the division rival Minnesota Twins last night. We're going to go through some of the latest White Sox news as well as the experience at the park. My wife and I ended up going down to see the team on a day that little did we know would be one of the most busy days as far as roster reconstruction was concerned. Rookie, I guess I can't say phenom, but a guy that we really do believe in as a future staple of the White Sox team, Oscar Colas, was optioned back down to AAA. He made the opening day roster. He had a great spring. And it's unfortunate that he didn't hit the ground running the way Luis Robert did a few years back when he made his debut. So he's going to get some more seasoning in the minor leagues, which is definitely a very, very good thing. I really do have high hopes for the long-term projections for Oscar Colas, but clearly he's just not ready for the major league action quite yet. Only about 19 more games of him being in the minors will actually extend the White Sox team control over him. Now, this is not a case of manipulating service time. White Sox gave him that opening day start with the hope and expectation that he was ready, but he only had 7 games, I believe, under his belt at AAA, so he just needs a little bit more time. I'm certain that we will see him back up here in the major leagues this summer, but probably not quickly. I do have to say, I think he needs that extra time in the minors, and the White Sox do have some replacement options up at the major league level right now. Somebody that really is under the radar a bit is Adam Hazley. I would like to see him get a lot of time out there in right field, mostly just to see what do we really have in this young prospect that we have. He got off to a really good start. He was a big part of that huge come-from-behind victory against the Rays recently. He had a big multi-hit game. At the very least, he's going to be a defensive replacement, commonly coming in for days that Aloy or Gavin Sheets ends up with the start out in right field. But I would like to get a good look at him too, just to see overall what we got. Of course, the biggest new move was that Tim Anderson is back off of the injured list. Talking a little bit about the game we saw him in, he went 0 for the game. He does look a little bit behind, maybe. He doesn't look as completely comfortable. He's got to get back into the swing of things. However, I have to give credit. He worked a walk. Listen, a walk is a walk. In general, not that big of a deal, but it is always a bit more noteworthy when Tim Anderson gets a walk, because he's not a guy that walks very much. He's not a guy that works the count very much. But we saw him yesterday in the 6th inning get into work himself into a full count, 3-2 count, and then go on to foul off 6 pitches in a row, fighting against some good pitchers in the day overall, until finally he got that 4th ball and got on base.
Another foul ball. It's like 5.
All right, great at bat. Speaking of walks in the game, Yasmani Grandal also picked up 2 walks. Something that is always part of his game, but we haven't seen it so much this year. So, I don't know, maybe he's seeing the ball a little bit better. And it was happening against really good Minnesota pitching. So, I was very positive to see that. Another change within the roster, Jake Diekman was designated for assignment. He is a guy without a huge contract, but he still probably won't be claimed on waivers, meaning the White Sox will most likely just end up cutting bait and eating the remainder of his contract. It's not a huge amount. I think it's about $3.5 million this year, maybe $4 million with another $1 million buyout at the end of the year. But it is some more dead money on the books for a team that doesn't waste money very much. Of course, Leary Garcia has about $5.5 million being paid to him, and he's not playing anywhere. Especially for a front office that is so into pinching every last penny. I'm sure this hurts their soul a little bit. But addition by subtraction, Jake Diekman I had high hopes for. I liked the pickup back when we got him last year for Reese McGuire, a guy who had no place on our team anymore. Might as well get something for him. Unfortunately, Jake Diekman, even though he had the random outing where he had nice, solid, clean innings, he also had a lot of really, really unclean innings. So unfortunately, he was not a guy that we could rely on, and it's good to just move on from those guys, not just drag them along when we can't rely on them. The White Sox bullpen, at least yesterday, looked nice, and part of that nice-looking bullpen, even though he didn't have a clean inning, was Alex Colomé back on the south side, a guy that led the team in, he was our closer for a couple of years, including during the pandemic season, where he had an incredible, unsustainable ERA under 1. Even though he gave up a pinch hit home run that allowed the game to be tied, he overall, I thought, looked very good just from the stands. He's a guy that has a track record, and he has skill as a major league pitcher. I think it's important to not expect too much from him, and I think as a White Sox fan, do you want to question Pedro Grifol going with him in that situation? I think that's fair to do. When you have a bullpen that is the worst in the league, it's almost just as easy to put anybody out there, even in a tight 2-1 game where you're trying to support a lead of the thinnest of margins. Nobody do you really have all that much confidence in. I keep wanting to jump into the game action because it was such a fun game yesterday, but another addition, and this is going to tie into the game again, is Billy Hamilton. Billy Hamilton is back up with the team. A video that I love to do every year is predicting the opening day roster, which I usually do about halfway through spring training. Again, I was completely sick this time around and just didn't want to be on camera for that. But I think I probably would have been working to try to figure out how to get Billy Hamilton on the team. I thought Adam Hazley was going to make the team too because he had, to me, an impressive spring training. So he didn't break camp with us. I'm so happy he stuck it out and played those minor league games to work his way back up to the team, because just having that weapon of Billy Hamilton's speed on the bench is so exceptional. So getting into the game itself, first off, again, got to acknowledge it's dog day. I shot a whole bunch of B-roll of dogs, 1,200 on site. I probably said hi to at least half of them. Big dog lover who does not have a dog, so I get my pets in wherever I can. And this time was at the park. It was a great, fun time to be at the stadium where you get to watch the game during the innings and between innings. It's all just scoreboard footage of dogs. It changed the atmosphere and made it a lot more fun at the ballpark. Also, I am the type of guy that loves to get to a game an hour and a half early, as soon as gates open, watch batting practice, watch the guys warm up, even on a cold day, which it was. It was in the upper 40s, lower 50s. Sometimes they don't take batting practice outdoors, but fortunately, the Twins were out there. They're from Minnesota. They can handle it. And then the White Sox, of course, were coming out to do their stretching. Something I love to see, Eloy and Luis palling around, joking around. They were obviously having fun, which is really good to see, because we had that incident not that long ago. I believe it was in Tampa, where it seemed like Luis wasn't allowing Eloy to catch those fly balls that were hit towards right field. And it wasn't the same joking around manner as we saw a few years back. As a fan, just being able to see what you can see on television, you kind of didn't know all of this losing, this going on. Is there any kind of a beef between these guys? Is the clubhouse environment hostile? Is it uncomfortable? Are people just miserable coming out to play baseball every day? Being there at field level, watching the guys hang out, pal around, work out beforehand, you could see that they're definitely all getting along. And that was a positive thing. I'd never noticed before watching Michael Kopech warm up, and maybe this happens all the time, but I've just never noticed it, is that the entire starting rotation was out there right next to him. Watching him work out, watching him warm up, Ethan Katz right next to him. And also, I just always have to shout out the White Sox ballpark, which I feel is very overlooked. It's not the newest park. The changes they made several years ago now, I think it was in the mid-2000s, really bring people close to the action. And I was walking out to watch Kopech warm up, and I was walking behind the catcher as the national anthem started to play, and Yasmani Grandal stood up, and we were almost nose to nose. I love how close, as a fan, you can be to the action. And of course, right field, you have that sports bar that actually puts you on the outfield warning track at ground level with the visitor bullpen right next to you. There are so many cool things you can see and do at the White Sox park. But on to game action. Michael Kopech was great. He was really outstanding. Obviously, he got into trouble here or there. He walked way too many people, and it was so strange because he was completely locked in and then would have these short spurts where he couldn't find the strike zone to save his life. And for the most part, he got out of it. He was in a really rough position with the bases loaded, just one out. Gave up a sacrifice fly, and then got a ground out after that in a moment where a big inning looked like it was about to unfold and the game would just immediately get out of reach. Michael Kopech worked to just limit the damage to just one run, which is not something that we were seeing during that rough losing streak very much. If the starting pitchers got in a bad position, the game would just explode and it would be tough to come back. Something I do have to say positively, over the last several games, even the games that the White Sox were losing, there was still a lot of fight in the offense. I didn't see, even as it got more and more frustrating, that there was still some life, that people weren't giving up. As much as at the end of the day, it's up to the players to do that, I really do have to guess that people like Pedro Grifol and Charlie Montoyo on the bench, they were keeping these guys involved. So I believe that there's a nice upgrade here overall with our coaching staff. We haven't seen the results of that yet, but I think we will as the season goes on. It took a long time for the offense to get going during the game, and you always wonder on those cold weather days, will it ever get going? But it was obviously such a blast to see Eloy crank a home run to left
against Lopez. Eloy in the air, lifted it, drove it, and got it out of here.
And even with the wind blowing in, it really doesn't matter much. He is enormously strong. He puts the Sox on top.
Oh, and by the way, speaking of home runs to left, no thank you, Carlos Correa. What a great play in the first inning by Andrew Benintendi.
0-2 hit in the air to left field. Benintendi at the track, at the wall. He leaps. Yes, he took it back. The masked man in left steals one from Correa.
Correa can't believe it didn't go out of the ballpark, but it's a very cold night. Great timing by Benintendi as he reaches over the wall. It's a 1-2-3 first. Michael is beside himself.
And how amazing that he ends up bookending the game with being the hero. And I want to jump to the end, all the excitement at the end, but it needs to be acknowledged that, yes, Alex Colomé, he looked pretty good. Not totally sharp. Obviously, he gave up a home run, but he looked pretty good. I was very impressed by Kenyon Middleton. 1 1/3 scoreless innings. He was on fire, and he has looked very good. Santos, where's this guy coming from? He has had a great year. One of the few guys in the White Sox bullpen that has had a great year, and he continued his scoreless streak. Overall, Jimmy Lambert has had a really, really great year. His ERA doesn't show it because he had a bad outing fairly recently where he gave up maybe it was even a couple of outings in a row where he wasn't his sharpest and left with some runners on base, guys behind him, not stranding those runners, allowing them to score. His ERA is very inflated right now, but overall, Jimmy Lambert has had a great year, and he continued to show it yesterday as he pitched a scoreless 10th to end up with the victory. Anytime you go into extra innings, you almost expect that one run is going to score, and the goal is to only allow that one run. And that guy only made it to third base, and he locked it down, allowing Benintendi to win it in the 10th. But first, let's go to the 9th. Leading off the 9th, Andrew Vaughn gets the walk. And as expected, right away, he is subbed out for Billy Hamilton, who promptly steals second, but not without a little controversy. They're gonna figure it out.
After reviewing, the ruling on the field is overturned.
That's why we have replay. That game. Imagine a few years ago, before there was replay, Billy Hamilton would have been out, and all that momentum would have been dead right there in the inning. And then that was followed by an Eloy Jimenez ground out, which that sounds boring, except only Billy Hamilton could have made it to third on that play.
This is grounded to third base. Nifty pick by Miranda. Hamilton guns it for third. He's in there.
He's still got such great wheels. It is such a game changer having Billy Hamilton on the team. What a weapon he is in these tight situations like this. His speed can be a big-time difference maker. Of course, at the end of the day, next Luis Robert was up, and I really feel like the game was going to end right there. I was completely had the faith that with less than 2 outs, Billy Hamilton on third, Luis up to bat, that he at least would hit a sac fly. But of course, he was intentionally walked, which was the right move. Hanser Alberto came up, by the way, also off the injured list. Hanser Alberto, I'm kind of combining a couple of videos because this is a little bit of how I would have constructed the roster at the beginning of the year. I had a hunch that he was going to make the team, except I didn't see how he could with Leury Garcia on the team. Of course, I didn't expect Leury Garcia to be just cut free. So that's where I would have been wrong. I would have been wrong a lot on my roster construction this year. Prediction, that is. Although a lot of it's coming to be. I'm not a huge Hanser Alberto fan, but without Leury Garcia on the team anymore, it does make sense for him to be on the team. And of course, I have to mention that Hanser was in because he was a defensive replacement for Jake Berger. Jake Berger has been a home run hitting machine, and he's so fun to watch. But if you look at his batting average right now, it's down to the low 200s. I think we are about ready to see Yoan Moncada back and getting those regular ABs. What Yoan brings just defensively is so huge. He is such a great defender. And as an added bonus, he has gotten off to such a hot start offensively. Jake, I love the guy. I love that he has fought through multiple major hamstring injuries to be where he is today. But he, much like Oscar Colas, is not looking super sharp with the bat right now. He is a guy that can change the game with a single swing of the bat, though. But in the meantime, as of last night, Hanser Alberto was up, and he looked all right in the field, coming back from injury. But, small sample. It's one at-bat. He was not able to get the job done, pushing us into the 10th inning. Alberto moves over on a perfectly placed Boda bunt from Elvis Andrew. I feel like it was a coin toss at that point. Tim Anderson was up next. Now, first base is open. You get Tim Anderson over there. You get the double play back up in line. However, Tim, even though he battled really well in that one at-bat, he was 0 for the day. And I think they saw that too. The Twins saw that too, that, he's not totally comfortable yet. I think we can get him. It was a gamble, and it worked out for them. TA meekly grounded out, leaving a man at third with 2 outs, and it was up to Andrew Benintendi to see if he could finish the game. Now, again, he already got the White Sox this far because he robbed a home run in the first inning, and he was robbed of a double with a great play. A ball hit deep to the gap, base of the wall in the gap, was caught with a diving play earlier in the game. Andrew Benintendi, who's got a decent batting average in the 270s, 0 for 4 at the time, he was due.
Lined over third. Benintendi does it. The walk-offs continue to flow.
And that was the ball game. So great to see the White Sox battle against a very good Twins team with some really great pitchers. They won a game against their ace. The Twins' current ace. They have 2 starting pitchers on the injured list right now. So it's very, very positive for the White Sox to be able to walk away with this Game 1 victory. Just one more needed in the next 2 games to finally claim the first series victory of the year for them. Now, I do have to say that is not the first White Sox walk-off win I was in attendance for. I saw a game in the early 2000s, maybe 2002 or so, in which Joe Creedy hit a home run to tie it and then hit a home run I think it was the next inning to win it in the 9th. Still, I think the most amazing walk-off victory I ever saw. So if anybody has ever been in attendance for a walk-off victory, tell me about the experience. What game was it? I'll see. Maybe I can put a collage together or a montage together of all of these awesome walk-off moments in White Sox history that you have witnessed. But before I sign off, there's even more great news. The greatest of all great news. As of today, Liam Hendriks has started a rehab assignment. He was in extended spring training for about a week or so. The club is expecting him to just need 4 to 5 games of warming up to get back up to game speed, and then he will be back on the team. I've got to acknowledge what the standings are. I haven't even mentioned that. Oh yeah, that ugly thing. As I'm recording this, the White Sox are not yet up to 10 wins even, and we're a little bit over a month into the season. They've got one of the worst records in all of baseball. However, I think the White Sox can come back. I am not writing them off, and I think I'm not a gambler at all, and I don't advocate for it, but I would bet on betting that if you wanted to put a couple of bucks on the White Sox, you'll get some really strong odds that might return something big, whether it's number of total games won on the year or maybe even making the playoffs. Before yesterday's game started, the White Sox were 9 games out of first, which is a lot considering we're only a month into the year. May, June, July, August, September, there's 5 months of baseball left, and they need to make up 9 games. Just 1 or 2 games per month of advancement puts them at the head of the division. Of course, easier said than done, and needing to stay healthy is a big part of that, and we know that the White Sox can't be counted on that. The problem is, of course, there's no room for error. There cannot be another prolonged slump for the entire season. Even a 5-game losing streak might be enough to be a major nail in the coffin. However, I do think it's very much worth pointing out that the White Sox, from the beginning of May on, have the easiest remaining schedule of any team in all of baseball. So there is a huge opportunity here for the White Sox to advance. One problem with that is that the Twins have the 6th easiest schedule from here on out to the end of the year. So one of the other teams with a fairly easy schedule is a team that we are chasing. So we need to really do well. The White Sox really need to do well the rest of the way. And for anyone interested, anyone curious, Cleveland is right dead center, right in the middle of difficult or easy schedule the rest of the season. With about a million things I want to say about the team, I think that's it for this video. Do let me know what kind of stuff you want to see me do. I want to do more live streams than I have in the past. If you watched the last live stream I did, I had a lot of fun doing that. So we'll do more of those. I'd love to do more regular videos. Let me know what you guys want me to do. And you know, something I've wanted to do for a long time is organize a brushback day at the park. So if there's maybe we can start to brainstorm in the comments how we could do a meetup of our regular viewers, all of us going to the same game together. That would be a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope you guys are all doing well. I missed you all. Play ball and go Sox.